The stars didn't move. They just watched. Commander Arwael the Sen sat alone in the control chair of the Veil Seraph, wrapped in the dim red light of failing emergency systems. The silence was thick, so quiet he could hear the faint buzz of his own blood in his ears. A soft hiss came from a broken valve somewhere in the rear corridor, and every so often, the hull creaked like it was groaning in its sleep. He had stopped calling for help. No one was coming. Not from the Concord, anyway. Arwael's people, the Zirin, were brilliant and exact. Every decision they made was calculated. Every life measured against value. Logic above emotion. Always. That was the rule. So when the Veil Seraph had drifted too close to a pulsar and lost control, when the radiation fried half the ship systems and killed the crew in seconds, the Concord had done what the Concord always did. They ran the numbers. And the numbers said he wasn't worth the fuel to save. He rubbed his arms. The heat was dropping again. He had shut down every non-essential system to stretch what little power remained. Even now, life support was down to just 9% efficiency. The oxygen was thin. The air tasted like rust and regret. The ship's AI chirped faintly. Incoming signal detected. Arwael blinked. That was impossible. He sat forward. Repeat that. Unregistered signal detected. Origin, unknown. Language, unknown. Pattern, artificial. His heart jumped. Not static. Not noise. A signal. Something was out there. Put it on screen, he said. The screen came to life, blinking with a strange rhythm. Blocks of light and darkness. Long short. Long again. Not Zirin code. Not Concord encryption. But clearly intelligent. Arwael stared. His hands shook a little. Respond, he said. Use prime number pulses. Show them we understand. He waited. Nothing. 5 seconds. 10. 30. Then blink. The signal came back. Same pattern. Followed by a slight shift in the sequence. New primes. They were answering. He stood up too fast and stumbled. The oxygen. He had to sit. A new screen lit up, this time with a rough image. A ship. Small. Bulky. Nothing like the sleek Concord design. It looked patched, uneven. Crude. But it was coming. A text message blinked below the image. We see you. You are not alone. Arwael felt his throat tighten. He hadn't realized how much he needed those words. Computer, he said, voice unsteady. Analyze vessel composition. Ship hull consists of mixed alloys. Not Zirin origin. No match found. Arwael frowned. Species. Unknown. It didn't matter. Whoever they were, they had seen him. They were coming. And they hadn't asked about his research or his worth. They didn't demand coordinates or confirmation codes. Just a message. You are not alone. That didn't make sense. Nothing about this made sense. He reached for the console and typed a message. Why are you coming? Seconds passed. Then a reply. You called for help. Arwael sat back, stunned. The Concord would have laughed at that. Help for no gain? Illogical. Wasteful. He typed again. I am not one of you. Another pause. Then, we know. He didn't know if it was fear or awe he felt in his chest. His training screamed that this was a first contact risk. Unknown species. Unverified threat. He should power down and hide his ship. Protect the data. Wait and pray. But something in him, something quiet, buried deep under years of cold protocol, was stirring. Hope. He hadn't felt it in a long time. He sent one final message. I may not survive until you arrive. This time, the reply came faster. We'll get to you. Hold on. Hold on. No one had said those words to him before. Not even when his ship failed. Not when the command center filled with the smoke of dying systems. Not when he screamed into the black. Only now. From strangers. He closed his eyes. For the first time in 18 days, he allowed himself to believe he might live. Then the ship jolted violently. Alarms screamed. A sharp hiss turned into a roar as coolant spilled into the corridor. Warning, the AI said. Core stability dropping. Radiation spike detected. Shielding compromised. Arwael's eyes flew open. The pulsar had flared again, and the humans were still 6 days away. Arwael coughed hard as smoke filled the control deck. The lights flickered again, and sparks danced from a panel near the floor. He yanked his sleeve over his hand and slapped the controls until the screen steadied. The pulsar. It had surged harder this time. Core temperature rising. The ship's AI warned. Stability down 12% in last 60 seconds. That meant he had even less time than before. If the core overheated, it wouldn't just shut down. It would explode. He pulled himself toward the engineering console. Every step felt heavier now. His breath came shallow and fast. The emergency mask helped a little, but the air was thinning fast. "Computer," he gasped. "Estimate time until total system failure." A long pause. Then, at current deterioration rate, failure in 5.8 days. The human ship was still 6 days away. Too late. His knees almost gave out. The chair caught him just in time. His fingers trembled as he typed out a message. To human ship. Radiation damaged core. Ship destabilizing. Estimated failure in under 6 days. He hit send and closed his eyes. The air felt colder now. He tried not to think about dying. He had done everything by the book. Sent all the right messages. Used all the right tools. And still, the Concorde had left him. A soft beep broke the silence. Received. Understood. Burning engines now. New ETA, April 5th days. Arwael blinked. They were going faster? Impossible, he muttered. They'll destroy their engines. Another message came. We'll fix them later. You're the priority. Stay alive. He leaned back and let out a sound between a laugh and a sob. No calculation. No value chart. Just a decision. They chose to come. To help. Not because it made sense, but because he needed help. He stared at that message. Burned into the screen like fire in the dark. Stay alive. How? He stood again, slower this time, and moved toward the lower deck. There had to be something, anything, he could do to survive just a little longer. In engineering, the air was worse. The filters had failed down here, but he pushed on. He opened a control panel and stared at the tangled mess of wires and burnt circuits. Computer, he said. Is there any reserve energy in the secondary capacitor? Capacitor charge remaining. 11%. Stored for weapon systems. Weapons were useless now. But life support. Redirect capacitor energy to life support, he said. Warning. Overloading environmental systems may cause secondary system failures. Do it anyway. The lights dimmed almost completely. The room grew quiet, except for a soft hum. Stronger than before. The oxygen flow increased slightly. He leaned his head against the bulkhead. The ship was dying, but not dead yet. And neither was he. A new message blinked on screen from the human ship. Send biometric data. Our doctor wants to be ready. He uploaded his vitals and watched the data stream across space. They were preparing for him. Not his research. Not his ship. Him. He tapped the wall gently. You see this? He whispered to the empty air. You see this, Concorde? But of course, they weren't listening. They had turned their backs on him the moment they ran their calculations. He wasn't worth the cost. He returned to the control chair and stared at the growing point of light on the sensor screen. The dauntless horizon was still small, still far, but it was closer now. Faster than expected. They were pushing hard. Too hard. Computer, he asked. Are they exceeding safe propulsion levels? Affirmative. At current output, hull strain will reach critical in 3.2 days. They were risking their ship to save him. He didn't know what to make of that. A Xeran would never do that. Not without orders. Not without a reward. A new message arrived. You still with US? He smiled and typed back with cold, sore fingers. Still here. Not gone yet. A moment passed. Then a reply. Good. Because neither are we. He leaned back, exhausted but steadier. He might not understand these humans, but they were real. They were coming. And for the first time in his life, he didn't feel forgotten. He felt seen. The cold was getting worse. Arwale curled tighter into the chair, wrapped in a heat blanket that barely held warmth anymore. The air was thin, and every breath felt like breathing through a cloth. His lips were dry. His hands shook whenever he tried to type. He hadn't eaten in 2 days. The emergency rations were gone, and the nutrient injectors had failed. The hydrocycle system was offline. Even water had to be sipped in drops. Still, he stayed awake. He watched the sensors. He kept looking for the dot, the one that meant the humans were still on the way. And they were. The dauntless horizon was now only 1.7 days out. But the ship's power core was down to 8% stability. The radiation leak had spread to another deck. One wrong surge and everything could blow. "Computer," he whispered. "Status update. Core failure in 38 hours. Life support failing. Oxygen level at 14%. Temperature below safe threshold." Arwale nodded weakly. He already knew. His own body had become the warning system. His vision blurred. His fingertips were numb. He was tired, deep down tired, in a way that sleep wouldn't fix. The console blinked. A message from the humans. "Almost there. Can you hold on 30 more hours?" He stared at the words. His eyes burned. He blinked hard, then typed. "I don't know." For a long time, nothing came back. Then finally, "We're not letting you go. Stay with us." It wasn't a command. It wasn't even logical. But it made something inside Arwale tighten. Not in fear. In determination. He stood, slowly, bracing himself on the wall. His legs wobbled. The hallway beyond the bridge was dark now. Pitch black. Emergency lights had died. He had turned off most systems to give every last spark to oxygen and heat. He needed more time. Just a little more. The only place left with unused power was the secondary weapons bay. He hadn't touched it. Useless in his condition. But the energy stored in its launch systems might be enough to power life support for another 6 hours. He pulled himself toward the ladder that led down. His body screamed the whole way. The air was thick with a sharp chemical smell. His vision pulsed. He reached the control node and pried open the access panel. "Computer, rear out all remaining energy from weapon charge coils to life support and oxygen recycling." "Warning," the AI replied. "This will disable emergency propulsion and internal defense systems." "No defense left anyway," Arwale muttered. "Just give me more air." The power rerouted. He felt it just barely, a slight warm shift in the air. A whisper of oxygen on his face. He sat back against the wall, breathing deeper now. His vision cleared just a little. The lights stayed dim, but stable. Another message came in. "Sensors show a power shift. You okay?" He smiled just a little. "Still here. Don't plan to die today." Another pause, then, "Good. Keep being stubborn. It suits you." He laughed. A rough, short sound. It hurt his throat. But it was real. He dragged himself back to the main deck. When he collapsed into the command chair, he didn't move again for a long time. The human ship was closer now. 1.2 days. He could almost feel them, pushing their engines too hard. Burning fuel too fast. Probably rattling themselves to pieces. For him. Why? He didn't understand them. He'd spent his life surrounded by data, math, and perfect logic. He had believed that only the numbers mattered. That feelings clouded judgment. That saving someone who couldn't offer anything in return was wasteful. But here they were, charging across space to reach him, for no reason but that he needed help. It was the most illogical thing he'd ever seen, and maybe the most beautiful. The ship's AI broke the silence. "Warning. Core stability at 5%. Time to failure, 30 hours. 30 hours. The humans were 29.5 hours away. It was too close. One surge, one unexpected jolt, and the core would go early. He leaned back, breathing slowly. Just hold. Just hold a little longer. Another beep. ETA, 27 hours. Pushing harder. Ships making strange noises, but we're still moving. Arwale grinned. "Then I'll be here." His fingers hovered over the console. "Thank you." The reply was instant. "Don't thank us yet. Just be there when we arrive." He closed his eyes and whispered into the quiet, "I'll try." The ship creaked again. Arwael opened his eyes. The lights were dim, barely glowing now, but they were still on. He had no idea how long he'd been asleep. A few hours, maybe. His neck hurt. His back ached. But he was still alive. He checked the console. The humans were closer. Less than a day now. Just over 20 hours. He smiled weakly. Then the smile faded. The screen flashed red. "Warning," the AI said. "Core temperature rising. Internal breach detected." Arwael sat up fast, ignoring the pain. He tapped into the engineering view. A fuel line had ruptured near the lower deck. Radiation levels were spiking fast. "Seal the deck," he ordered. Seal failed. Manual override required. Of course. Always something. He pulled on his suit, the emergency kind, thin, only for short use. It would buy him minutes. Maybe less. The corridor was colder now. The air stung his face even through the helmet. Lights flickered, and a thick haze hung in the air like smoke. He reached the lower hatch and saw the problem right away. A coolant pipe had burst, spraying mist and vapor. Just behind it, the fuel line, glowing a faint blue. Radiation was leaking out. Too fast. He didn't have tools. He didn't have time. So he did the only thing he could. He grabbed a length of emergency seal tape from the wall panel, ripped off the cover, and forced himself into the haze. Every second felt like a needle in his skin. He wrapped the pipe with shaking hands. Once, twice. Held for now. He stumbled back and slammed the hatch closed. Deck sealed. The AI confirmed. Radiation contained. He dropped to the floor, chest heaving. The suit's inner screen blinked red. Radiation exposure high. "Yeah," he muttered. "I figured." Back on the bridge, he barely made it to the chair. He sat heavily, tore off the helmet, and coughed hard. "Computer," he said, voice rough. "Status. Core stable for now. Estimate 18 hours to failure." The human ship was 17.5 hours away. Still too close. He opened the comms and sent a message. "Minor breach. Sealed it. Took damage. Still here." A pause. Then the reply. "You're a damn hero. 17 hours out. Ship's rumbling like a drum. But we're coming." He smiled. "Don't break your ship for me." The answer came quickly. "Too late. Already broke a few things. You better survive to see it." He leaned back, eyes closing again. He thought about the day he joined the Concorde. He was so proud. The youngest officer in his class. Always perfect. Always efficient. But not once in all those years had anyone told him what these strangers had told him. That he mattered. Not for his rank. Not for his research. Just for being him. He wasn't used to that. Another alarm went off. Not a loud one this time. Just a soft ping. "Incoming message," the AI said. He opened it. It was a video feed. The screen lit up with the image of a human. A woman in a loose gray flight suit. Dark hair pulled back. Grease on her cheek. She smiled. "Hey there. I'm Captain Elena Moore of the Dauntless Horizon. You probably look better than me right now. We're pushing the old bird as fast as she'll go." Her voice was steady but warm. Her smile reached her eyes. "We're real close now, Arwael. You just hold on a bit longer. We'll be docking, well, more like clawing our way in soon." Arwael stared at the screen. He hadn't seen another living face in weeks. "Computer," he whispered. "Start recording." He cleared his throat, sat a little straighter, and looked into the camera. "I'm Commander Arwael, the son of the Veil Seraph. I don't know why you're doing this, but I've never been more thankful." He paused. "I will hold on." He ended the message and sent it back. Then he looked out the viewport. The stars looked different now. Closer somehow. Less empty. And in the distance, one light moved, just slightly faster than the rest. Getting closer. Every second. The moving light was bigger now. Arwael sat on the floor, wrapped in the last thermal blanket. The chair had broken when the ship shook from the last surge. It didn't matter. He just needed to stay conscious. The human ship, Dauntless Horizon, was close. So close. Less than 8 hours away now. He watched it on the sensors, a growing dot of life, hope, and noise. The kind of noise that meant people were talking, fixing things, fighting systems that didn't want to work. A live noise. His ship made no such sounds anymore. It was quiet now like a tomb. A small beep made his eyes open again. New message received. He forced himself up and crawled back to the console. ETA 6 hours. Ready a dock point if you can. Sending alignment path. He tried to respond, but his fingers weren't working well anymore. They felt like stone. Cold, heavy stone. He managed to press one key at a time. Can't move. Core too unstable. Air too low. The reply came fast. Understood. We'll do it our way. Hold tight. He laughed softly. It hurt. Then the lights flickered again and went out completely. Total black. Even the emergency lights were dead. Computer, he whispered. No answer. He tapped the panel. Computer. Still nothing. He felt his heart thud hard. Then slower. He was running out of time. He reached out, feeling his way along the wall toward the airlock. If they were going to dock, he had to be there. If he passed out in the wrong place, they might not find him in time. Every step was a fight. His legs gave up halfway down the corridor. He crawled the rest. When he reached the airlock, he slumped against the wall, panting. His hands searched for the emergency light switch. Click. A faint blue glow filled the space. Just enough to see the control panel. Nothing was active. He closed his eyes. He didn't want to die here, but maybe it wasn't the worst thing. He had tried. Fought harder than he thought he could. He'd met some people who taught him something different. That sometimes helping didn't need a reason. That life wasn't just about numbers. He let his head rest against the wall. Time passed. Maybe minutes. Maybe hours. Then noise. A sharp, rhythmic thumping against the outer hull. He blinked, confused. Came again. Knock. 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 He tried to speak, but his mouth was dry. He grabbed the wall, pulled himself up, and stared at the airlock window. Something was out there. He saw a shadow, a shape, a bulky suit, then a new sound, whir, as if something was cutting through the hull. He backed away slowly. The ship's AI would have screamed warnings if it were working. A hiss, a loud clank, and suddenly, the airlock door began to open. Not explode, not decompress. Open. And on the other side, bathed in white-blue light, stood 3 humans in bulky suits. One waved. Hello? A voice crackled through the speaker. Commander the Sen? You in there? He tried to respond, but his throat wouldn't work. One of them stepped forward and reached for him. You're safe now, she said, voice warm. We've got you. He nodded slowly. His eyes burned. You made it, he whispered. Of course we did, she smiled behind the helmet. Couldn't let you die alone in this flying coffin. 2 of them took his arms gently and helped him up. His legs barely worked, but they didn't complain. Just held him up and moved. They walked into a tunnel. Not part of his ship. Something flexible, glowing slightly, a makeshift connection to their own vessel. He was moving, breathing slightly easier now. He was going to live. And for the first time in his life, it wasn't because of a plan or logic or a perfectly executed protocol. It was because someone decided he mattered. Just because. He passed through the airlock into their ship and heard the click as it sealed behind him. And the last thing he saw before he passed out was a hand on his shoulder and the words, "You're home now. Rest." Warmth. That was the first thing RYL noticed when he woke up. Soft, steady warmth. Not the cold metal floor of his ship. Not the biting chill of thinning air. Real warmth. He took a slow breath. The air didn't burn his throat. It smelled strange. Like plastic and oil, but it was thick and clean. He opened his eyes. A ceiling above him. White with soft lights. Vitals are stable, said a voice nearby. You're awake. RYL turned his head. A human stood beside him, holding a device. Older. Calm eyes. A small smile. I'm Dr. Elias Monroe, the man said. You're safe. Just rest. RYL opened his mouth, but his voice was weak. The ship, my ship? The doctor gave a soft nod. Your ship's gone. Core blew not long after we pulled you out. If we had been minutes later. He didn't finish. He didn't need to. Arwael closed his eyes again. Thank you, he whispered. Don't thank me, Elias said. Thank the ones who dragged you out. Maria, Tom, and the captain. They burned every trick they had to reach you. Arwael opened his eyes again. I don't understand. Elias raised an eyebrow. What don't you understand? You risked everything. For me. You didn't even know me. The doctor looked at him for a long moment. That's just what we do, he said simply. Arwael didn't reply. He wasn't sure what to say. Back in the Concorde, nothing happened without purpose. Without gain. Saving someone who couldn't return the favor? It was nonsense. But it had happened. He sat up slowly, the blanket falling from his shoulders. Elias moved to support him but stopped when Arwael managed it on his own. You'll need food, Elias said, tapping the tablet. We've synthesized something close to your dietary profile. Might not taste great, but it'll keep you alive. Arwael nodded. That's good enough. A soft chime came from the door. It slid open. Captain Elena Moore stepped in. Her flight suit was dusty, her hair tied back in a loose braid. She looked tired, but smiled when she saw him. Well, she said. You look better standing than on the floor of a dying ship. Arwael managed a dry chuckle. I feel better too. She stepped closer. We've been monitoring Concorde space. No patrols nearby. We're moving slowly, staying quiet. Should reach the edge in 2 days. Arwael tensed slightly. You're returning me? That's what we planned, she said. But, she looked unsure for the first time. You don't seem eager to go back. Arwael didn't answer right away. His hands gripped the edge of the bed. The Concorde left me to die. Their logic said I was a waste. Moore crossed her arms, waiting. I was proud of them, Arwael continued. Proud to serve. We were smart, advanced, clean. But when I needed them most, they didn't care. Moore nodded. I get it. Do you? Yes, she said. Maybe not your version. But I've seen leaders make choices that forget the people underneath. Numbers over faces. She took a breath. But here's the thing. We don't let that stop us from doing what feels right. Arwael looked up. And this, helping me, was right? For us? Yes. He stared at her. You saved my life. You're not the first, she said. You won't be the last. Another silence passed between them. Then Arwael asked, what happens when we reach Concorde space? Moore shrugged. We make contact. Let them know you're alive. Then you decide what you want to do. I may not want to go back, he said softly. Then don't, she said. Stay with us. Help us. You've already improved half our systems. Maria says your scanner mod tripled our range. He gave a small smile. It was a simple fix. Not to us. She reached into her pocket and pulled out a small round device. She placed it on the table beside him. What's this? A communicator. Links to our system. You're part of the crew now, whether you go or stay. Arwael stared at it. She stood up. Rest up. We'll talk more later. As she walked out, Arwael looked down at the device. It wasn't an order. It wasn't a command. It was an invitation. And he didn't know what his answer would be yet. But for the first time in his life, the choice was his. The stars outside the viewport drifted slowly as the dauntless horizon cruised toward Concorde space. Arwael stood on the bridge, wearing a clean uniform the humans had made for him. It wasn't fancy. Simple gray fabric with a small horizon patch on the sleeve. But it was warm, it fit, and more importantly, it wasn't assigned. It had been offered. Captain Moore stood beside him, arms crossed, eyes watching the screen. Her crew moved around them with quiet focus. No marching, no stiff silence. Just people working, talking, laughing, solving problems as they came. How far? Arwael asked. 17 hours, Moore replied. Give or take. No signs of patrols yet. Arwael nodded. Still sure you want to do this? She asked. He hesitated. He'd spent years following orders, living by rules, believing in systems. Now he had to face the same system that once left him to die. And he wasn't sure what would happen when he did. But something inside him had changed. Yes, he said. I need to face them. Moore didn't push. She just nodded and turned back to her display. Later, in his quarters, RYL sat with the communicator she'd given him. He had made his choice. He sent a message, direct, unencrypted, to the Concorde. This is Commander RYL Thiessen. I am alive, rescued by an alien vessel designated Dauntless Horizon, requesting peaceful contact. He hit send. No turning back now. The reply came 2 hours later. A sharp tone, a message flashing on screen. Your status is classified as lost asset. Recovery by alien vessel is unauthorized. Prepare for debrief and technology seizure upon return. RYL read it 3 times. No welcome back. No concern for his health. Just control. Rules. Procedure. He opened a channel to the bridge. I think you should see this, he told Moore. She read the message and frowned. So that's their plan. Take you, strip our ship, then maybe toss us aside. Yes, RYL said. Unless we make a better plan. Together they drafted a reply. Calm. Firm. The Dauntless Horizon crew has full records of the rescue. Any forceful action will be treated as hostile. I am not damaged property. I am a living being who made a choice. You chose to abandon me. They chose to save me. Then they waited. The Concorde responded. Approaching vessels dispatched. Prepare for inspection. Moore's crew readied the ship. Not for battle, but just in case. Maria locked down systems. Tom rerouted emergency controls. RYL uploaded all logs, medical scans, and sensor data into a single file. He added a final note. This is who they are. Maybe we can be better too. The Concorde ships arrived just past the edge of their territory. Sleek, silent, perfectly in formation. A message lit up the screen. Commander RYL Thiessen. Surrender for transport. Alien vessel will be scanned. Moore stood beside him. Your call. He stepped forward. This is Commander RYL Thiessen. I do not consent to being treated as cargo. I will return only under my own terms. As an ambassador. As someone with knowledge you cannot afford to dismiss. Silence followed. The Concorde didn't respond right away. Then finally, your proposal is under consideration. Do not enter Concorde space without approval. The message ended. The Concorde ships didn't fire. Didn't approach. They just hovered there. Waiting. Moore let out a breath. Well, that could have gone worse. They're thinking, RYL said. That's a start. You still want to go back? He looked around the bridge. At the patched walls, the noisy engine hum, the crew who had risked everything for him. No, he said, but I should. She smiled. We'll wait right here. So he left, aboard a small human shuttle they'd rigged with his old beacon. He crossed into Concorde space alone. Not as lost property. Not as a problem. As a message. A warning. A hope. 2 weeks later, he sent his first broadcast. This is RYL Thiessen, former Concorde commander. I speak now as liaison to humanity. They found me in the dark. When my own people left me behind, they came. No calculations. No orders. Just choice. If we want to be better, maybe it's time we start choosing too. The broadcast spread. Some dismissed him, but some listened. And out in the stars, aboard a patched-up ship full of loud humans and second-hand parts, a captain raised a cup in his name, because sometimes the strongest rescue isn't just from death. It's from the way we used to think.